Canadian leaders in the fight against food insecurity will be gathering today in Montreal. They're meeting for the first ever Food Insecurity Summit. The goal to reduce food insecurity by half in the next 5 years. Christian Colman is the director of the Dorion Dream Center. That's a food bank in Vaudreuil. Good morning. Thanks for coming in.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So you're attending the summit today. Does this goal of a 50% reduction in 5 years feel possible?
Well, that's what I'm hoping to find out today. I'm looking forward to seeing what the leaders, those people who advocate for us, to see what strategies they have and what they could come up with to see if this fight can be fought. Because from our perspective, a small food bank, we keep seeing the numbers going up. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to say.
What do you need?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Well, look, we're at the bottom of the totem pole, if you will. You know, government gives money to the food banks of Canada, Quebec. They pass it on to Moisson, and then they pass it on to the food banks on the ground in the battlefield. And, you know, by the time it reaches us, it gets a little diluted. So, you know, what do we need? We need everything. I mean, my pantry's empty at the moment, and I'm waiting for Moisson to give us our delivery this week so we can give to our people, our population.
Is there a scenario where the money or the funding could go directly to you instead of going through that sequence of different levels?
That's wishful thinking. That would be fantastic. Mm-hmm. But I mean, these organizations are important to give us structure, to give us policy standards and all that sort of thing. So it is super important that they are there. Mm-hmm. It would be nice to see if some more could come to us directly. That would be something that would be ideal for sure.
You just said your pantry is empty. Tell me a little bit more about the need and the people you serve.
Yeah, well, look, we're serving, I mean, since 2023, 2024, there was an increase of 33% of people coming into the food bank. So last year we were giving an average of 120 baskets. We're at 140 this year. And to give you an idea, that feeds about close to 400 people a week. And we're a relatively small food bank in comparison to some of the other ones in Montreal. So the need is definitely there, and it keeps growing.
What does that mean when you have an empty pantry, and in terms of how you help the people who come walk through your doors?
Well, in our case, we are dependent of Moisson Sud-Ouest, who provide us with the food every week, which is amazing, which is part of the reason why all of these organizations are important. But, you know, we don't know exactly what we're going to get, what they receive. This varies from week to week. So we get some food. We try to give our best baskets as possible, but sometimes we actually have to go out and get some basic needs like maybe milk or eggs or stuff like that.
Do you have to redistribute or give people less, for example?
We try not to.
Okay.
We really try to give them as much as we can, but if we don't have, I mean, that's the reality.
And I have to ask you this, do you ever have to turn people away?
We haven't so far, and we really, really do not want to go there. So we do our best to serve as many as we can.
What's unique about Vaudreuil and that area when it comes to food insecurity?
Well, I think it's new. I mean, Vaudreuil has been growing in population like since 2021. I think it's like 8% growth, which is fantastic. But at the same time, that brings more families. And more issues into the city. So homelessness, we do have some walk-ins that are homeless. I dealt with a gentleman last week who's living under a bridge. So that affects everybody. And the diversity of people that we receive is also very interesting because it's not only just homelessness, but it's people who have jobs, people who 10% of our clients have homes. So food insecurity could be anybody and it could happen to anyone at any time. So
what kind of conversations do you have with people when they walk through your doors and they're asking for help?
Well, look, we first of all, we don't turn anybody down. So when you come in and ask for help, the first thing we do is say, yes, we will definitely help you. And then we sit down and just have a little conversation with them and see what their situation is. Sometimes, for example, with the homelessness, we're not equipped to handle that because we're in the food, but we'll direct them to other resources around the area. There's a shelter actually just down the street from our place that helps out the homeless.
Right. How are you working with all these other services? If someone, you said, of course, you're helping people fight. food insecurity, but if they need extra help, for example, a
Right.
homeless shelter, if they need mental health services.
That's right.
Because people who are walking in asking you for help probably don't feel the best.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we try to work as much as we can with any resources that we have around us, whether it's the LSC or the shelter. And that's part of my job, to go around and stay connected with these other places to make sure that we know that we're there. And sometimes the food shelter will send us people, for example, who need food. But it's a daily challenge for sure.
I can imagine. So, of course, there's this summit today. You're waiting to see what comes of it, what ideas are out there. How will you contribute to that conversation? What will you tell them about the reality of what you do and how you work and what you need?
Well, look, I'm hoping to have a voice there and to be able to share our challenges with everyone and see what I can get out of it. We're trying to look for new strategies and just to see how we can make this fight better. And that's why I'm really curious to see from the head people what their idea is coming up for the future, like you mentioned, in the next 5 years. How are we going to do this?
Right, and they want to reduce this by 50%. That's the goal there. But what if this is still an issue in 2030 or worse?
Well, we will continue doing the fight. And we are hoping that these organizations like the Food Bank of Quebec and the Food Bank of Canada really can advocate for us with the government and see if they can help us out more, because it starts at the top. I'm not going to fix the problem.
Right.
I'm just helping right now as best as we can. But we definitely need help, and there's many other food banks around the city and all other areas who are in the same situation.
Do you get donations from people in the area, from residents in the area?
Yes,
as
we
well?
do. Yeah, that's how we work, and we do food drives. We just did one with Pure Later, Tackle Hunger, where they went out and gave bags in the neighborhood, and then we got over 3,000 pounds worth of food, which is fantastic. It filled our pantry. However, 2 weeks later, that goes.
It goes really quickly.
It goes really quick.
I think people don't necessarily process how quickly that food gets. They might see a full pantry one day, but that's going to be well used and maximized. Those baskets are going to be maximized.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Thanks for the work you do.
Well, thank you.
That is Christian Colman, the director of the Centre Dorion Dream Center.